This is the future.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Warframe video. So we are days away from Warframe's next big update and I'm really excited on all the new content coming in the Dante Unbound update. But for now, let me share to you what I'm doing in Warframe and the things I'm currently enjoying playing in the game. This video is all about the most broken builds in Warframe this year that you must try, but do take note that this is just a part of a video series. There are tons of powerful builds in Warframe and I want to showcase them all in one video series. In this new video series, I will show you all the powerful builds in Warframe that you can try, and mind you, these are not simulacrum builds, but real builds that you can use in real missions. The main idea of the builds that I will be showing you are those synergies that can be used by players, whether in a team composition or in solo plays. And of course, all of these builds are tested in Steel Path levels and beyond. Lastly, most of the builds I will show you in part 1 of the video series are great in the upcoming Dante Unbound date, so you might want to check them out and try them once the next update is implemented in Warframe. I think you have enough knowledge on what you will see in this video, so let's start this with the first awesome synergy in the game, Nuke Queen Garuda. There are 2 variants of Nuke Garuda right now, and the most popular variant is the Thermal Sunder build. This build was insanely powerful in the past, since the subsumed version of Thermal Sunder has infinite damage scaling that there will be a time in your mission that you can reach millions of heat damage ticks from the ability. The best part is Garuda allows you to abuse this heat scaling as you have bloodletting to restore your energy. All you need to do was to add Molt Reconstruct in your build to get health back while casting your abilities, and just cast bloodletting every time you need energy. By the way, I don't have primed flow in this build because I don't have enough mod capacity, and while it's a good thing, I still can manage without the prime version of the energy mod, since Garuda can get energy whenever she wants. Also, Archon Vitality makes the damage even better since it allows you to double proc heat, which then allows you to reach those insane damage numbers from Heat Thermal Sunder fast. However, the synergy was changed, and right now, Thermal Sunder Helmet ability have been altered, and the scaling from heat status on enemies is now capped to 10 times ability damage. The synergy is still good in Steel Path levels, but don't expect to get thousands to millions of heat damage ticks from the ability anymore. While this is one of the best nuker setup for Garuda on its prime, but still, I was using the original nuker Garuda nuking setup with added helmet ability. Instead of Thermal Sunder, what I did with my Garuda is subsume the Nourish ability. Grendel's subsume ability does work with her Seeking Talons, and every time you hit enemies with your ultimate, you also can proc the viral status of Nourish, hence giving you decent bleed to enemies that are hit by the ability. Also, just like the Thermal Sunder nuke, this Garuda build is highly dependable when it comes to survivability, since it can abuse the shield gating mechanic with the new catalyzing shield mod that decreases shield capacity, but lets you have 1.33 seconds of invulnerability. With this build, I can spam Garuda's ability because of the bloodletting skill and Molt Reconstruct augment. Also, Seeking Talons have invulnerability while casting, so her ultimate is not just for damage, but also good for survivability. Now, the slash with viral procs from her 4th ability is not the main nuking part of this Garuda build. The main nuker skill is when you charge up her 1st ability and throw it to enemies that are affected by Seeking Talons. The normal gameplay for this Garuda build is first cast her 1st ability, then apply the slash with viral proc using her ultimate skill. After that, charge your 1st ability and nuke the room. Cast the bloodletting ability if you need energy, then rinse and repeat the whole process. With this build, you can turn Garuda Prime into an ability-only Warframe that uses her skills alone to kill enemies in the game. Moving on, I would just like to talk about Gauss Prime with Sada's Whisper and the Latum. For those who are watching my videos always, then you can skip ahead as you already know how broken this combo is, but let me give you details on how broken this synergy is. We all know that Latum is very powerful because of its Devouring Attrition perk. With a negative critical chance Riven mod, we can have negative critical hits, allowing the 2000% damage bonus of Devouring Attrition to activate every time. This is already a powerful buff, but it gets better with Sada's Whisper in the build. Sada's Whisper has a unique interaction with the Incarnate Evolution's Devouring Attrition and Devastating Attrition's 50% chance for 2000% damage on a non-critical hit. Basically, if you have a Sada's Whisper buff of 50%, the way it works is it creates a second hit for 50% of the total damage of its progenitor damage. If Attrition activates on that hit, it will inherit the 2000% bonus damage. This damage instant then also has its own chance to activate Attrition, as Sada hits are always non-critical with a negative critical chance Riven. This double dipping ends up as a 441's times damage buff on the Sada's Whisper damage instance. Even if the progenitor hit didn't proc Attrition, the Sada's Whisper hit still maintains its own chance to proc. This provides a better overall damage buff than Roar or Eclipse, especially if your power strength is on the lower end. Now, we all know that Sada's Whisper and Latum can be used by any Warframes in the game, but let me tell you why I like it with my Gauss Prime. First of all, we all know how tanky Gauss is with his kinetic plating ability, and also, there is no energy problem with this frame, since every time enemies hit kinetic plating, it will restore a portion of your energy. With my build, I managed to get rid of the pesky issue of toxin toxin damage with quick thinking and molt reconstruct. If I'm facing against toxin enemies, all I need to do is just use Mac Rush to create distant and vanquish them with my Latum. The quick thinking mod helps in making sure that I can escape tight situations, and the good news is you can't be staggered while kinetic plating is active, hence giving you that assurance that you can escape any tight situation with this Gauss Prime build. Since this survivability setup for Gauss is inclined towards duration and without energy problems, all I need to do is add every power strength mods I have into the build to increase the strength of Sada's Whisper. The void damage increase does help against the sentient enemies, but it's really not necessary though, as the damage from devouring attrition is massive that you won't see a huge impact on the void damage itself. The fire rate buff from Redline is just a bonus, which makes Latum even more lethal, especially against single target enemies with damage attenuation, such as the Archon bosses in the game. By the way, one mistake I have made in my previous Gauss video was said that buffs from Redline scales for power strength. It was wrong, and I'm sorry for that since the buff scaled with duration mods. Power strength mods are included in my build for either the Nourish or Sada's Whisper subsume ability. Right now I'm having a blast playing this old Gauss synergy since the day Gauss Prime was released. The Warframe just looks awesome also with his deluxe, and so far I'm enjoying my fashion frame for this Warframe because I also have a build which is great for almost all missions in the game. The next Warframe combo I want to talk about is Kullervo with the Exodia Contagion. Some may use Kullervo for heavy attack builds, but I prefer the Wrathful Advanced Critical Chance buff to be paired with Exodia Contagion. So far, this is the easiest way to get tier 3 red crit for the Exodia Contagion, and this red crit can even go further with the critical chance mods you have in your weapon. I usually pair this with Eclipse, and in the Dante Unbound update, Eclipse will finally be a reliable source of damage since we can control the solar buff with the tap of a button. The only problem though is that they will be lowering the damage buff of the subsume version of Eclipse in the next update, and I don't know if I can still have the same damage numbers as what I have now with my Eclipse Exodia Contagion Kullervo. Nonetheless, this is by far the easiest build for Exodia Contagion red crit, and it will become more potent in the upcoming Dante Unbound update. Do remember that there will be a new augment for Kullervo called Storm of Yuko that will allow you to teleport his 4th ability to the spot wherein you teleported using your Wrathful Advance. This Exodia Contagion build will be more effective since it will be more efficient in maintaining the 12-time combo counter which powers up this build. Take note that each time you hit an enemy with your ultimate gives you combo count, and you can maintain the max combo count using Storm of Yuko with this setup. However, I will be making some changes in my current build to make room for the augment. In this case, I'll be removing Umbral Vitality as it's not necessary. It's only there to further increase the power strength of Umbral Intensify, and the health buff is just a bonus. I don't exactly need health in my Kullervo since I have recompense that grants me overguard every time I need it. Not to mention that it also got a short invulnerability once it's depleted. By the way, these are the main components I am using for the Exodia Contagion powered Zaw. This manages to give me the maximum damage output and as well as the highest critical chance value for Zaws in the game. For the build, I managed to get a decent Riven, but it would be better if it was a critical chance and critical damage bonus. However, it's not necessary though, and you can put any mods such as damage mods in the slot to further boost the damage. Also, I am using the melee exposure arcane for those sweet corrosive damage, which pairs well with the viral damage I have in this build. The corrosive from the arcane does activate always, since most of the time this Kullervo build is spamming its abilities. And for the final build for part 1 of my most broken Warframe build video series, I want to talk about one-shot Nuker Trinity, which will be very handy in the Dante Unbound update. The next update will give us the new Omnia Fissure mission, which does have a steel path version and allows us to crack any error relics in the mission. Basically, you can crack Lith, Neo, Meso, or Axie in this new Omnia Fissure. While many players don't get the benefit from this, since the Omnia Fissure only will give you one reward just like the usual Fissure mission, but this is very beneficial for those players who love endurance runs. The Omnia Fissure will be in endless missions such as the Void Cascade mission that we have in the Zeraman tile set, and one of the best Warframes to deal with this mission type is Trinity. You may think that Trinity is obsolete, but she is not, and she is very effective in Void Cascade mission. The thing about Trinity is that her energy vampire setup will not just give constant shield gating and energy, but it's the weakness of Thrall units in the game. You can say that Thrall units in the game has a weakness, and it's called Trinity. For the Void Cascade build, you will need to have the Vampire Leech augment paired with low duration so you can spam not just the energy regeneration, but the damage done by the second ability. For this, you can have Transient Fortitude and Fleeting Expertise in your build, so that Energy Leech will last for 1.2 seconds and you can cast it again. The only problem about this build is that it has very low duration and you can't pair it with other abilities, that even her other abilities such as an Abating Link setup won't help the Warframe. Anyway, you don't need damage mitigation from her third though, as you can have that with her Blessing, and the shield gating mechanic is just so potent with this build. Both Energy Vampire and Blessing can provide enough shield that you can abuse shield dating, and because of this, you can just spam your second and fourth ability in Void Cascade mission to kill Thrax units. The best part is you can pair this with a Marked for Death setup since this Helmet ability doesn't have any duration scaling. Also, Marked for Death is potent in the Void Cascade, as once you have cast this to Thrax units and then cast Energy Vampire, the damage done by your Energy Vampire will ramp up and it can nuke those enemies around the target. One last thing that you should know is the addition of Viral in your build. Viral increases the overall damage output of your Energy Vampire, hence increasing also the nuking capability of Marked for Death. In this case, I am using the Kuva Nukor with a Viral viral build to proc 10 times viral on the target fast and easy before nuking them with Vampire Leech. Now, I will be posting a part 2 of this guide soon, but for now, I hope that you enjoy these builds and best that you try them out in the new Dante Unbound update, which is coming March 27th. Before leaving, please give this video a like and subscribe to help support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Squad leader signing off.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Human